What's up, guys? Sin here, back with another Flesh and Blood video, and this weekend is Outsiders pre-release weekend, so be sure to check out your local game store, see if there's any spots still open, and go from there. Today, I'm bringing you guys a video about the one hero I'm pretty excited to dive into playing in paper, and that is Uzuri Switchblade. I know there's been a lot of discussion about what Uzuri is able to do, and how she is going to shift the meta, if she's going to find a place in the meta at all, and more so like how to build her. I have a pretty offbeat list that I've been running with Uzuri that kind of ignores the dagger mechanic to a degree and just goes for straight damage, goes in as hard as it possibly can, trying to keep your opponent on their toes, trying to force your opponent to overblock, trying to force your opponent to make incorrect blocks, and really push damage straight from turn one into other aggro decks and into other styles of play, really forcing your opponent to make those key decisions based around what Uzuri's toolkit allows her to do. This is not me saying this will be the list that does it. This was not me saying this is the list that will win. This is me saying that this is the list I have had the most success with via Talishar, playing the game through there and just kind of going about my day. I can't say it's definitive. I'm not a professional player. I'm not I am an enthusiast of Flesh and Blood. I've the most impressive stat I have pulled off is a calling, or not a calling, a battle hardened, like 26th place at Indianapolis once. So I'm no pro player. I'm a fab enthusiast that likes to play the game and really feels like I can put together a cohesive enough deck and then tune it from there. So without further ado, here's what we're going to do. We're going to dive through my Uzuri list that I've been running and kind of explain some of my choices, because in the grander scheme of testing and learning these new heroes, they might seem a little weird, but it kind of works. So let's talk about it a little bit. So here we have what I like to affectionately call the Aggressive Knife Party Lady version 3.420. And so we're running 40 reds in the deck, we're running 3 yellows, and we're running 17 blues. Probably wondering, oh, wow, that's a low amount of blues. I think it's pretty on par. It's pretty in the range of what like a typical aggro deck would run. I have been on a never-ending quest to kind of turn everything into Briar, and this is my kind of impression of Uzuri doing Briar things. So we got Uzuri Switchblade. She says, once per turn attack reaction, banish a card from your hand face down, then turn the bait card banished this way face up. If it's an attack action card with cost 2 or less, put target attacking card with stealth from the active chain link on the bottom of the owner's deck, then put the banished card onto the active chain link as the attacking card. This allows us to do a couple things. First off, it kind of has a built-in pitch stacking mechanic, which kind of lets you, save your stealth cards for later when they might matter more in the game. And also kind of helps a little bit into fatigue, not like a lot, but I have some stuff baked into this deck that does. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see that I played an old him a couple days ago, and I kind of did dirty things there with this deck into that old him player. I'm sorry about that if you are watching this out there. Then we're running Black Tech Whisperer's main deck. This is a pretty obvious one. Why? It blocks for 1, and for most of the cards in this deck, it's a Snapdragon Scalers. It does have the condition, of course, that it has the attack you're playing has to hit the hero to gain go again. But with that being said, Uzuri's ability kind of makes that easier. Because she has cards like Death Touch, she has cards like Shakedown, that you would, those are probably the primary targets for black tech in this deck. The primary targets for black tech in this deck are definitely sitting at Death Touch and Shakedown. Even Sneak Attack would really be what you want to crack black techs off of when you have like an arsenal card in a full hand and you just have it lined up to swing back with a bunch of damage. So off of that, we're running Crown of Providence. Why? Blocks 2. I don't need to explain Crown of Providence unless you're a newer player. Crown of Providence is great. Lets you cycle a card from your arsenal or hand to the bottom of your deck and draw a card once per game. So pretty easy there. But Fiendel Spring Tunic, don't have to explain that one. We are running Redback Shroud in the sideboard. I haven't entirely decided where or when I want to bring this in. You definitely don't bring it in against Fatigue. You definitely don't bring it in against Ice. You might want to bring this in against the aggro matchup or the aggro mirror, where you might need to block with a card that you're planning on pitching for an attack reaction, like Razor Reflex. But yeah, so that's kind of like, I have that in the sideboard as a just in case sort of scenario. And then you have Goliath Gauntlet. We're gonna be cracking this on our 2-for-6s. There are times in the game where you are presented with the choice to just flat out play a 2-for-6. So it's very brute like in the sense where, you know, you might be able to play a stealth card, flash in Death Touch, crack black text off the Death Touch, giving your opponent a Blood Rot token, and then following it up by cracking Goliath Gauntlet and then pitching a blue to Command and Conquer for 8. So, you know, you're looking at 14 damage plus a Blood Rot, which adds another +2 damage. So that's 16 damage on a really good turn. So we're running Goliath Gauntlet for that simple fact of you run a lot of 2-for-6s that can get buffed by it. So you run Command and Conquer, you run Sneak Attack, you run Surgical Extraction is another one that you might want to use that on, which is another great target for Uzuri's ability. Devastating on hit really plays off that. So yeah, so we're running those as equipment. We're running Spider's Bites by default, but it's going to depend on matchup. You might want to bring in, you might want to bring these in against other aggro decks because they're going to be blocking with attack actions. For Wizards and even like Dorinthia, you're probably going to want to bring in Orbitoclast because you're blocking the non-attacks. And I might tool this deck a little bit more. I might mess with this deck a little bit more to be able to include at least one of the scalpels for say like the Dorinthia matchup or the Warrior matchup, because they play a lot of reactions just like you do. So you're kind of able to mess with it that way. But the daggers aren't the primary focus because they cost 2. The dagger mechanic helps, but I don't know. I'm not entirely convinced of it yet. In all the games that I've played with flick knives and stuff like that, I feel like it's really good to end games. I could be wrong. I just don't like the fact they're blade break. I feel like they flick knives flourishes a lot better in Arachne Huntsman than it does in Uzuri and what Uzuri wants to accomplish. The only attack or the only dagger that works to actively on the chain reduce the amount of defense your opponent is dealing you is the scalpel, and it has to be done before a defense reaction gets played. So might be worth it. I've tested it. Opportunity to do that does not come up enough. I'm undecided on flick knives. I feel like it's definitely Arachne Huntsman tech. Arachne Huntsman is going to be playing into the dagger, possibly the dagger playing a little bit more, and maybe even solitary confinement below that. But the goal here is to have at least 3 cards in a 3-card hand on a 3-card hand, being able to play an attack with Go Again, an attack with Stealth, and then flashing in a 2-for-6 or flashing in a card with a devastating on hit. If you can't do that, sometimes you just want to be able to play a card with Stealth, flash in something with a devastating on hit, and then attack react over it. Those are the general play lines here. Sometimes in between that, you have a blue that you can afford to pitch away. You're able to sneak a Dagger bite in there. So if you play like, say, play like Hurl for 3 go again, you send the 3 go again in, pitch Infect or pitch any blue you have, swing with the Dagger once, hit a stealth card, throw it over the top with like a Command and Conquer, Surgical Extraction, Leave No Witnesses, whatever it is. The on hits that you want to have hit. So we're gonna have what I like to call chain starters. So we have Hurl. This card I don't like to play super early on, but if it's presented, I will. At the end of a game, if your opponent is sitting at 1 life and they're just trying their best to block you out, you could literally just play Hurl. At instant speed in response to playing Hurl, take the Tunic resource and just whip a Dagger at their face. And if they don't have a way to prevent that damage, then that's game. So we're running Hurl, we're running the usual suspects, Ravenous Rabble, Scarf, 2 Scarf or Scars. Those are kind of your chain starters. Those are the cards that just have go again more often than not. We have the ability to give stealth cards go again to then maybe bait your opponent into thinking you're going to attack react with Uzuri, but instead you just Razor Reflex it, give it go again on the on hit, and go from there. So all of these become basically 3. All of the reds basically become 3 for 6s. I've been presented with opportunities to leave Razor Reflex and Leave No Witnesses. When you do that, that's pretty devastating because you can play like Isolate, which is dominate. So initially they can only block with the 1 card from hand, and then I flash and Leave No Witnesses, and then I Razor Reflex on top of it. It hits, they lose their arsenal, they lose the top card of their deck, and it gets go again. If you're lucky on the Leave No Witnesses, you might even get enough silver to be able to buy black text back. That's a rare instance, but it can happen, and when it does and when it works, it's mint. It is chef's kiss. And then you can just keep attacking. I'm running a pretty controversial card in this deck, I feel, which is Looking for a Scrap, where you pay 1 and you banish a card with 1 attack from your graveyard. When you do this, gains +1 and to go again. I like it in this deck. I like it in this deck because it can be Razor Reflexed. Almost every attack in this deck can be Razor Reflexed and have some kind of benefit to it doing so. If you Razor Reflex this and banish that card, it's coming in for 8 go again, or 8 if it hits, gains go again, which is nasty. And you're really able to keep your opponent on their toes with this. So those are primarily our starter cards. We've got, the 3 Hurls, we have the 2 Scarf or Scars, we have the 3 Ravenous Rabbles, and the 3 Looking for Scraps, all in red. So running those, you kind of want to start your chain with them. You can kind of bait and switch with the black tech turn and, force your opponent into thinking like, oh, you're just playing a stealth card. You're going to react with Uzuri, play Death Touch, and then, break black tech, and then once that comes in, you break the black text, and then say you have a Ravenous Rabble, you follow it up with a Ravenous Rabble, you follow it up with a Scar for Scar. We're trying to really just get damage in where we can, and if we can do that early on in the game without having to play super defensively, we get an edge pretty quickly. And here's why. This is the card that I absolutely can't believe they printed. This card is Spreading Plagues. Cost 1. You create X Bloodrot Pox tokens under the defending hero's control, where X is the number of defending cards this chain link. Now, early on in the game, you can set up pretty easily by pulling. If you pull the Spreading Plagues in your opening hand, you can get ahead really quick, or you can bank this for later, wait for another one to come around, and really, 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 really mess with your opponent. In one game that I played, I flashed in a Shakedown against an Oldhim, and this is just, random game, just chatting about it. I think it was just like an Infect. It was just like a blue Infect that I played, and then I flashed in Shakedown. And I had another blue in my hand, a Spreading Plagues in Arsenal, and another Spreading Plagues in my hand. the Oldhim player blocked with 3 cards. I then double spreading plagues over that, giving the Oldhim player 6 Blood Rot tokens, which essentially asks at the end of their next turn, they had to either pay 18 resources or take 12 damage. That asks your opponent some pretty important questions, I think. It also blocks for 3. So like, this card has it all. The attack doesn't need to hit for this to work. Like, this is going to be, in my opinion, a card you see Assassin run. This is the Assassin staple right off rip. So rolling it back, what are we running for stealth cards, Sin? Well, we're running 3 red infects, which just say when this hits a hero, create a Blood Rock Pox token. We're running 3 blue infects for the possibility to turn on looking for a scrap. You could block with these early on, which might be beneficial because once you rip that looking for scrap, you get a 1 for 5 go again. There's infiltrate, red, stealth. When this hits a hero, banish the top card of their deck. You may play it until the end of your next turn. This could be good. This could be bad. Point is, you're taking a card from the top of their deck if this hits. This might be one of those cards that you just want to like sync with Uzuri and see later on in your pitch stack. Isolate. This card is insane. This is the card that really makes Uzuri work, and because you play Isolate, it has Dominate. They block with the 1 card from hand, maybe a piece of equipment. If you're lucky, maybe they don't even block with the piece of equipment, and they only block with the 1 card from hand, because that's all they can do with it. And then you attack, react in Command and Conquer, Shakedown, Leave No Witnesses, Surgical Extraction, all of your target cards that you're trying to flash in, so to speak. Unless they have a defense reaction, it's probably hitting. I don't know how to tell you that. Like, so we're running the reds, we're running the blues. I've contemplated running the yellows too because it's just that damn good of a card. But I feel like that also slows down the deck a little bit, having kind of, because if I put the yellows in, then I have to take out some of the go against stuff, which in turn really just kind of, I haven't needed the yellows, let's put it that way. And I'm gonna say that flat out. I haven't needed the yellows. I could be wrong about that. That could be the wrong call. We'll find out realistically. Stealth cards, and then we're running a suite of blue stealth cards. We are running Backstab. Defense reactions can't be played to Backstab. Chain Link. It's really a blue for 3. We could be running Concealed Blade as well. But I feel like having the Backstab, having the stealth target is good. Being able to just kind of throw something away for the looking for scraps is good. Malign, damage that would be dealt by Malign can't be prevented. Let's be real. This isn't this flavor text is, or this actual card effect text is probably never going to come up in any situation. Somebody might Oasis Respite something, I guess. That could be a thing that happens with how much of that stuff is running rampant. I wouldn't surprise me, but most of the time you're just kind of blocking with this or pitching it or using it for Uzuri's ability. And that's kind of like where we're at. So we got 5 here. We have 6 here, so we're running 11 blue stealth cards, and then we are running 9 of the red stealth cards. So we got 20 stealth cards to make up the deck. It's about, that's about 1/3 of the deck is stealth cards. The other parts are the cards we're going to want to flash in, which are Command and Conquers, Death Touch, which says Death Touch can't be played from hand. So really the only way to play Death Touch is using Uzuri's ability or putting it in Arsenal, which I have done before. I have put this in Arsenal, waited for a turn where I can just maybe play like a Ravenous Rabble, or like a Ravenous Rabble looking for scraps, or Scar for a Scar, and then at the end of the chain I just plop this out from Arsenal. So you can definitely do that. It doesn't slow you down. It really just depends on what your opponent has. Leave No Witnesses. If you're familiar with any of the Dynasty Assassin cards, Leave No Witnesses is a good card. You know what this does. We have Shakedown. That is another card we're going to want to flash in. This is Uzuri's specialization, and this can be devastating. This could really mess with your opponent's hand. You just need to be very cognizant of what your opponent is playing, what hero they're on, and how that hero is going to be affected by you taking away maybe a red card from their hand, or maybe taking away the one pitch card that they could use. So going that route is definitely good. It is definitely good. I've hit some pretty great cards off this. I remember I took an Icelander's Channel Lake Frigid with this. Yeah, so Sneak Attack. If you've played or activated an attack reaction, this Chain Link Sneak Attack has +4. That counts for Uzuri's ability. So you play a stealth card and you attack react over it. Sneak Attack just comes in for a blank 7. Just a blank 7. Running 2 of those because you kind of don't want to get caught having one of these in your hand with just a blue, because it becomes a 2 for 3, and that's gross. But most of the time, you're probably just going to Uzuri this in. I've actually thought of maybe bumping this down to a 1 of, but I feel like I have a really nice balance just from my experience. If even getting rid of it, time will tell. Time will tell on this one. This card is a maybe. It could be a really nice chain ender, just 7 blank damage, entices your opponent to maybe just say, I'm not gonna block, and then you Spreading Plagues over it, or no, not Spreading Plagues, but you just you just kind of like get that free 7 damage. We've got Shred, Blue Shred. We have Blue Shred. We're running there, but also Surgical Extraction is another one of those cards that we're gonna plop in there. Pairs really well with Shred. It's a no-brainer. I mean, you want Surgical Extraction to hit no matter how you're playing it or where you're playing it. I know the question on everybody's minds is, why are you not running Pummel? I'm not running Pummel because I often find running Pummel is difficult in this deck. At least, and not even in the way that I've built this. In my initial build, I went with a Go Tall Uzuri, and I find that she had the way that she loses a card to do what she does with Command and Conquer and with Surgical Extraction. It's really hard to dedicate another card to a Pummel. Like it can be very difficult to set up a Pummel properly and still maintain survival after the fact. Yes, we are running Sink Blows. Yes, that's just for defensive reasons. We do have Fate for Scenes in the sideboard for some of those harder matchups. We do have Oasis Respite in the sideboard for the Wizard matchups and even some of the harder Fatigue matchups. But yeah, this is what I'm pretty much working with right now, guys. I'm a little like, I like Uzuri a lot. I think she has potential. It's going to take time to see the meta and the decks kind of form out of Outsiders, but experimenting with decks is very fun, and I'm very happy to kind of bring you my first thoughts or takes on Uzuri. I feel like this kind of helps get around the fact that Infect, Infiltrate, Isolate, all of those cards aren't really on rate attacks, and they don't have Go Again, but they do block for 3. So while Uzuri has the ability to play defensively when need be, you're also able, with some of these other cards like the 3 Go Agains and the Ravenous Rabbles and the Looking for Scraps, you're able to punch back with more than one card a turn, which was kind of Arachne Huntsman's problem. I do feel like Huntsman got a lot of support out of this set, and I do feel like that Go Tall build and with the daggers is going to be a legitimate deck. As far as placement in the meta, I would say Uzuri on first glance, on first pass, running through both styles of build. I don't like tier rating heroes before they're released. And a lot of like the pro players have started like building their shit out, but I feel like into some heroes, this deck is devastating. Into other heroes, it kind of suffers from the typical problem that I feel like Briar has been dealing with, at least in this current meta. Ice is a problem for this deck. I gotta be real with you. Fatigue may be a problem for this deck. I've had really good luck into old hymns. You know, you never know the experiences of the other player sitting on the other side of the table as you. It might have been their first time with an old hymn. So I don't take Talishar testing totally to heart. 95% of the decks I build, I play on Talishar, then I go play at a locals, and I understand, oh yeah, this isn't going to work. That's not to say it isn't a great platform for trying stuff out. With that being said, guys, that's what I have today for my first iteration of Uzuri Switchblade, a hero that I'm really, really looking forward to playing over the coming weeks, coming months, through draft, sealed, CC, blitz, all sorts of things. Outsiders is a set I've been looking forward to for a long time. As you can see, I already have my Uzuri poster set up here, ready to rock and roll. Let's see if we can get you guys a better look at that. Yeah, like right there, she's right there. So yeah, I'm pretty excited, and I hope you all have a great pre-release weekend. I hope this list didn't break you. But you know, I'll link it. Give it some tries. Let me know how you feel about it. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's good, it's good. But I've had some luck with it, and I think it's a very fun way to play Assassin going into the next season of Flesh and Blood. Thank you all so much. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share the video around. Sin out.